All right, I think we have quorum. We're going to kick off. Welcome everyone to the Bank on It webinar. We're going to be discussing today the top 5 accounting struggles. We have a team of experts here from QuickBooks and Finale Inventory. I'm so glad you could all join us.
Happy to be here.
Excited to be here.
Nice. So we're going to kick off by introducing ourselves. I am Samantha. I'm your moderator today. I'm a partner manager at Finale Inventory. I come from the selling side myself, so I've known all of these financial woes we have in the seller system. And I'm excited to kind of take some stress out of the selling for you guys. I'll hand it off to Joe, my teammate here at Finale.
Sam. Yeah, I am Joe Wasco, a customer relationship manager with Finale. Been with Finale for almost 4 years now, which is pretty crazy to say out loud. Have some experience in small business, and over the course of time with Finale, I've worked with hundreds of customers and their inventory, accounting, warehouse management needs.
Incredible. Matt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, very, very nice. Thank you for having me today. My name is Matt. I'm a senior product specialist, as it says there with Intuit. Been with the company for 20 plus years. Was here, when we only had a handful of products before we had partnerships, and it really limited the scope of what we could solve for. As accounting's got more complex, as we've invited more partners in to solve for more industry verticalizations and specializations. Super excited to be here with Finale today and to showcase kind of what we can do when we put the power of both of our products together.
Love it. I can go next. Have not been into it quite as long as Matt has. Just coming up, just over 2 years. Have a lot of experience in the inventory space, so it's been awesome to be able to work with Sam and her team at Finale, and awesome product. So excited to kind of jump in today and watch these the professionals show you guys some cool things.
Amazing. Now that we've met the team, we wanted to just give a little background on Finale and QuickBooks. If you are new to our companies, Finale Inventory, we are your omni-channel bidirectional things between e-commerce, warehouses, brick and mortar, you name it. We're reconciling that inventory management for you from anything from lot ID tracking, kitting and bundling, all the way down to QuickBooks financials. We're always here to support your workflows. We know they're unique, and that's why we have Joe, our expert, who's always helping find that optimization to make your life a little less stressful.
Awesome. And so you all know QuickBooks, but I wanted to kind of take a little bit different perspective of it. Like we are all about customer obsession at Intuit. So I could go through all the products we have, but Matt's going to touch on some of those, right? We have QuickBooks Online. We also have payments. We have payroll, QuickBooks Time, different things that plug in very nicely with Finale. But we're customer obsessed. This is a picture of a real customer we have, and we really love to get into the weeds with these SMB companies that use QuickBooks and really help them grow their business. There's a shot here of kind of what the UI looks like for those of you that have not been in QuickBooks. But yeah, excited to kind of dive in today and learn from Matt. Matt didn't give himself enough credit. Like he is the guru of all things QuickBooks, and we on the partner team are super lucky to have someone like that can really come in and show people the value of what QuickBooks can offer. And I think, on the inventory side with Finale and over the past several months, as Sam and I have kind of gotten into different co-marketing motions, like it's crazy to me how nicely these two products fit, right? And how I think a lot of this is going to be relatable to everybody listening of, accountants staying in QuickBooks, the inventory, the controllers, like really diving into Finale and those two talking seamlessly. So anyways, that's a little bit on QuickBooks.
Thanks, Nate. Now, to what you all have been waiting for, top 5 accounting mistakes. Hand it off to you, Matt.
Yeah, so, this is something we see very common in both of our customer bases when it comes to accounting, when it comes to, again, as a business matures, as we start adding in more tools, as we start expanding the amount of products we sell, not just to end users, but maybe online and through other avenues. Again, as the complexity grows, as the business starts to expand, there becomes a more important weight put on visibility. And a lot of business owners we see as they grow up from a mom and pop, from an SMB to a slightly larger business, mid-market, or even larger, they start to see this need for real-time information, real-time insights. Do I have the right amount of inventory? Am I making the right amount of profit, etc.? And so getting all of the data on your platform to talk, getting your accounting software, getting Finale and other maybe plugins that you have, getting all of that getting all of that data to be real time in front of you without having to go to Excel, without having to do a bunch of manual work is really key. It helps the business scale, it helps the business grow, it helps you understand all of your key performance indicators and where you're doing great and where maybe you need to make some adjustments. So would love to, turn it over to Joe and kind of see again, when we plug in Finale, how can we really maximize the visibility into our business and stay on top of our business as it grows and gets more complex?
Sure, absolutely, Matt. All right. Might be the first look at Finale for some folks. Others, it might be familiar already, but this is Finale Inventory. This is our home screen where you can easily get to all of what Finale has to offer. By going to the integrations page here, when we talk about real-time data, real-time syncing, that's exactly what you see here. Finale has the ability to pull in your sales in real time, whether it's from your shipping platform or your selling channels directly. We have the ability to push stock back to your selling channels in lifetime as well. And that same real-time sync also exists with our QuickBooks Online integration. The idea is whatever Finale to control for you from an accounting standpoint, Finale is able to sync that information in real time over to your QuickBooks account. And specifically what we're talking here is revenue, cost of goods sold, purchase orders, bills, payments, even vendor credits coming back to Finale. These are all things that are bundled in that live real-time sync with QuickBooks. In addition to that, the benefit is, sometimes if you deal with manual entry into QuickBooks, you might only see updated information bi-weekly or monthly. This live sync with QuickBooks allows that data to populate as the day and week progresses. So you're not worrying about stale information in QuickBooks. You can look at your information, look at your accounting and your financials and make real decisions throughout the month, as opposed to having to wait until month end. Now that real-time view also translates to our inventory management. We go back to my home screen here, we can go to our stock view. And from here, we have the ability to see live look into our quantities on hand for our inventory. Whatever we might be ordering, from purchase orders that are on order, not yet received, units being reserved for sales that are pending that we are bringing in real time that are not yet shipped out. Views like this are easily filterable by location. We can see what we have in our warehouse. If we have multiple locations, we have that breakout and visibility within Finale as well. And much like a lot of information in Finale, it is easily exportable, where you can drop this information into a spreadsheet, manipulate it offline, plug it into any sort of offline tool you might have, and more will be discussed on that a little bit later. Going back to the home screen and referring to the point of the scalable processes that Matt mentioned, we have modules for everything from start to finish when it comes to inventory management. Purchasing, managing your suppliers as well, sales, managing your customers, and we also give you full range of motion when it comes to managing your inventory within Finale. And part of what goes into scalable processes is usually accountability, especially from an accounting standpoint. It's always nice to know who made changes, when these changes took place, especially for inventory tracking. Finale provides individual user access, so you can have multiple users set up for your account. By leveraging such tools as stock history, we can easily see what users did what operations. We can run reports based on those users. We have timestamps for anything that takes place in Finale that affects your inventory. And this is all information that is reportable and easily visible within our UI.
Yeah, appreciate that, Joe. And I think you brought up a nice point about real time. A lot of businesses online will say they integrate, but integration is not created equal. I love the real time integration. And that's really key and an important part of this partnership. But let's talk about that next difficulty, number two, operations. As again, we're looking to scale, as we're looking to grow. Sometimes many businesses we talk to are in a situation where they have a great product or set of products, they have great channels, but they're growing revenue as fast as they're growing expenses. So how do we start to make the operations more efficient to drive more revenue per product we sell? And that's really where the second challenge we can solve for really well. Looking at our procurement processes, really getting deeper and more streamlined on those. To understanding labor, sometimes we don't think of labor. If we haven't invested in the appropriate, systems and tools to go out and efficiently pick, pack, and ship, labor can start to creep and get to where it's eating into profits. And so really excited about all the things that, Finale does when it comes to helping us out, understand not just, again, what's our efficiency at scale of selling products, but then also what's our efficiency with our labor and our different processes around operations. And so, again, Joe, would love to kind of showcase and have the audience see, as we plug QBO into Finale, how can it help us out with streamlining our operations?
Terrific. Yeah, and this is where Finale and QuickBooks can really complement each other well as solutions, because Finale, we're really focused on the inventory, the warehouse management side. QuickBooks offers tools and services related to payroll, labor management. So, by allowing Finale to focus on things like your materials, your components, your finished product, we'll be able to take care of the COGS aspect for you and see how that factors into your profitability for sure. But starting really with the lack of warehouse and manufacturing visibility, Finale, we do consider ourselves to be light manufacturing supporting software, which is a fancy way of saying you can run builds in Finale to allow finished product to be created. We also offer support for virtual bundles, and that's a term more familiar to e-commerce sellers who create bundles based on various SKUs, where really when they fulfill orders, it's nothing different for them. They're just pulling multiple components. But if we are looking into more of the manufacturing of products within Finale, this will show you the type of support we offer. So let me go to our product view within Finale. Again, we offer full visibility into your products, whether they are your finished goods or your components. The ability to categorize your products is an extremely valuable aspect of product management. But going into this specific product, what Finale is capable of doing is storing what we call a bill of materials. Now, that bill of materials is also known as, your recipe or a list of components that feed into a finished product. Finale is allowing you to not only track inventory for that finished product, but also the components that feed into it as well. And if we're going back to the cost aspect of this, Finale cost tracking capabilities, we are able to assign cost to your components. And when you create your finished product, that finished product will assume the cost of the components at that time the finished product is created. But aside from the cost tracking, Finale will also provide you insight into what your potential build quantity is, knowing how many units you can actually assemble based on the component inventory on hand. And taking that information, we're also going to allow you to create the product. If I go back to my home screen here, we can go to our build function, where we have the ability to create that finished product. And creating that finished product, throughout the build, we're able to see the components that feed into that finished product, specify how many units we care to produce at the time. We can even assign lot IDs to that in case that is an aspect of your business, serial tracking, lot ID tracking. We input a quantity to produce. Finale will automatically adjust the components that we are pulling in and consuming as a result of that, based on the recipe you told us. If we try to build more than we can, well, guess what? We won't let you. We have a built-in validation. We know how much inventory you have on hand. We know how much you can produce. And if you're looking to produce more than what Finale is tracking as you being able to produce, we'll let you know. Now, the insight into the process is not just a strict, tell Finale what I want to build and go ahead and build it. We also provide insight into maybe processes that take more than a few days to do. Maybe you want to reserve components because they are being used to create a finished product, and it's going to take a few days for that to happen. Well, in Finale, we have the ability to reserve those components. And if we go back to our stock screen, we even offer dedicated custom views that can be configurable. You can add them yourself. Finale support can assist you with creating them. But if we go to a view dedicated to our kit and bundle products, we will be able to tell you what you have in progress, what your quantity on hand is, how much you can still build even after that build that's in progress, or any, multiple builds that are in progress. And when it comes to completing that to actually create that quantity on hand for that finished good, we simply have to go back to the build. Complete it. And again, in real time, Finale will update your stock screen to let you know what your new quantity on hand is, as well as your updated WIP unit tally would be as well. And when it comes to really just having an idea of, well, how do I keep track of my component inventory? How do I keep track of what I need to know when I need to manufacture for my finished product? Even just looking at my SKUs that are being sold every day that are not kits or bundles, that is where the reordering comes into play and the ability to be proactive about your replenishment. We have dedicated measures within Finale, such as sales velocity. We will be able to track your sales per day for whatever time period you want Finale to track. Let you know your stock out days, so you know if you are near being in a stock out situation where replenishment is in order. And based off of that, we have a full-fledged dedicated reordering module. And if we come here, this is where Finale will tell you, based on what we are tracking, based on what you tell Finale your numbers are for replenishment in case you have minimum points of reordering, we will tell you your SKUs that require to be reordered. You can filter this by location, filter this by supplier, generate purchase orders directly from the screen that will carry over all of that SKU information, all of that supplier information, and allow you to see that you are intending to bring in these products on these orders. Information like this, again, in real time, we're able to commit purchase orders. We can send this PO over to QuickBooks by simply marking that as committed. And circling back to our stock screen one last time, we are able to also see our on order units reflect those POs that we've committed in a way where we can easily go back in and say, yep, I have 194 units on order. It's tied to that PO. And here we come full circle with that as well. So process all just ties back to reordering, replenishment, staying on top of your inventory, and to keep yourself from getting into a position where you are losing revenue because you are out of stock.
Awesome. And yeah, I appreciate that, Joe, because like I said, a lot of times when the business is small, sometimes an owner or a couple co-founders can keep it all in their head. But as we just saw, that complexity, that gets tougher and tougher as the business starts to scale, as we start to package or bundle our products differently online in different channels. And really appreciate what you guys add there to help, handle the complexity and make it simple and visible. So let's move into our, oh yeah, go ahead if there was another comment.
Yeah, Matt, I just really love that Finale and QuickBooks married together enables our sellers to go omnichannel without that foundation. The idea of taking on one more marketplace or an additional storefront, it sounds like an impossible feat. But with the economics of selling right now, you need to be omnichannel. You need to meet your sellers where they're at. So the hope being we can dial in these processes for you. So it's really just as simple as a click of a button.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've talked to businesses and been on demos with businesses who, like you said, are afraid to do that because, again, one or two current channels they have are taking up a lot of their time and most of their employees, resources. And Streamline helps them take on that extra channel or two and really not have to add that much more in terms of employee cost. So excellent. Okay, well, let's jump into this third one, and cost of goods sold. I think this is one that every business owner is always trying to make sure they can do as good of a job as possible. Again, what we've seen so common is, when you have an accounting software, when you have something to manage your e-commerce, but they're not talking to each other, cost of goods sold becomes, again, very difficult. You're exporting everything to Excel and you're trying to really understand what actually is going on, or you're having to make certain assumptions versus having the software do the heavy lifting for you and record everything accurate in real time. So this ties into a number of things. We looked at this just a little bit, but purchase order visibility, as you're looking through your inventory, as you're understanding your builds or your bundles, and you might need to order more to stock up your different channels, or if you have a certain order come in, purchase order visibility is key and something that we're excited to show you. Also that, like I said, keeping QuickBooks up to date with everything that's going on. While QuickBooks is going to kind of take in your bank feeds and have your base accounting, as the information goes over to Finale and you start, breaking apart inventory and builds, etc., having that all come back into QuickBooks, keep QuickBooks up to date, keep your accounting up to date, again, eliminating the manual entry, the manual sending to Excel to get all the data put back together. This is what allows us to provide these real-time cost of goods sold figures. And then two, like we said, we're excited to, again, as we look at growing and scaling the business, as we look at making the business more efficient, how can we understand and make better decisions based off of real data, not based off of a bunch of Excel spreadsheets where we kind of think we know what's going on, or we're thinking over it in our head and we hope we made the right decision, but how can we actually have data back all those important business decisions we're making, so that, again, we can continue to grow and grow at the proper margin. So we'd love for you to take us through a few of these points, Joe.
Absolutely, and thank you again for the setup, Matt. Queuing it up perfectly. And so let me get my screen back up here. And before we move into more detail around the COGS, I do want to make sure that I'm showing and not just saying. Again, we have this PO we just created in Finale a few moments ago. And if I go over to QuickBooks, well, here it is, showing up underneath our vendor Acme. Go into that PO, we are able to see the product information get translated, pushed over, line item pricing and totals as well. So, that PO pushed over through our direct integration with QuickBooks to allow action to be taken in QuickBooks if necessary. Now, so when it comes to it's something where it's not just the cost of the product, right? Where we're looking at the cost of what it takes to get the product in-house. And that could be anything from freight, anything from tariffs, if you deal with any sort of international sourcing. There's a lot of costs that come into that equation. And Finale is capable of handling this cost and creating a landed cost for you in a way that is rolled directly into your cost of goods sold as well as your inventory valuation. Now, going back to this PO, we have product on it, but we don't have any types of adjustments that really, we know factor into what the cost of the product is, especially for landed cost. Well, the beauty of Finale is that at any point in time, you do have the ability to go back to put a PO in a draft state. We can then, we have the ability to add those adjustments. Now, these adjustments can be, again, anything that could be freight, insurance, duties paid. Finale can be configured to have as many adjustments added to the account as possible, as whatever is required on your end. If I go ahead and add in freight for an example, and let's say it took, $1,000 to get this in to our warehouse. Well, Finale is capable of allocating that cost either by quantity, by weight, different allocation methods that make the most sense for you. And when we allocate, Finale can then automatically calculate what your landed cost per unit is. And that landed cost per unit, again, is what ties into your cost of goods sold, your inventory valuation, to really give you a sound understanding of what your true product and inventory costs are. And at the time that you receive this purchase order, Finale is able to apply those costs and update your inventory and the average cost calculation automatically. If we move that back to just a committed state, Finale is also capable of allowing bills to get generated off of those purchase orders. And another flexible aspect of Finale is when you bill purchase orders, you can have actually multiple bills associated to a purchase order. So maybe you have this PO come in, multiple shipments, you can bill based on shipment. Maybe it's a situation where you are being billed for the product, but you used a freight broker or a third party to get that inventory to you, and you're not actually paying your supplier the freight. That's no issue with us. We can simply make an adjustment to remove that freight designation, post that bill again, and then we could simply go back to the PO and add another bill or as many bills as we need to allow for that cost to be ultimately paid with a payment. And if we, for this additional bill, we're only paying the freight associated to it, we can remove all of our items. We can associate that bill to our logistics provider, post that bill, and that'll get synced over to QuickBooks as well. So large amount of flexibility with what Finale can do in terms of billing and making sure that the cost allocation is correct for your SKUs based on that landed cost. And one last thing before we move off of this point, now Finale, we are also able to track your data and when it comes to sales and your cost by sales channel. I will touch more on that with our next slide, but just as a little bit of a preview, because Finale sees all of your sales data, we are able to segment that accordingly when it comes to sales reporting as well as accounting.
And so let's go ahead and get into our fourth challenge that we'd like to discuss for a moment. Again, just super popular to have multiple channels. And, every channel is kind of created a little bit differently. The economics of different channels can vary based upon their rules and how they've set things up, based upon, how they do discounts and how they maybe do advertising and all sorts of things to promote your products. But how do we pull that visibility back in? How do we understand the analytics of what's going on? And that's where it gets really exciting with Finale's ability to take a look at each sales channel and give you visibility into it versus just giving you a lump sum back like several other softwares do. Also, there's a lot of transactions that go on. We all, I mean, if you even think of just about your personal purchases you probably make in a month, there's quite a few of them. Well, as a business owner selling on multiple channels, those transaction lists can get quite long. And so having the ability to understand those, have those pulled into QuickBooks is really a helpful tool. Again, we're really trying hard to eliminate as much manual work as possible, if not all of it. So we'd love to hear from you, Joe, on, as we continue to grow and expand, as we take on more channels, how can we kind of keep it all organized and then get the great insights and analytics behind it?
And yeah, one last little show and tell before we dive into the analytics side. Again, we, as a refresher, we created 2 bills. And if I jump over to my QuickBooks, well, there are those 2 bills, pushed within 5 minutes, where we are then able to go in, apply payment, schedule payment, do whatever we need to do with those within QuickBooks. So yeah, yay for real-time syncing. Now, when it comes to analytics in Finale, we offer a multitude of tools. We offer dashboards, we offer reports. Starting with our dashboards, we have several high-level dashboards that can be leveraged. Starting with our overview dashboard, at a quick glance, we can easily see how we are doing month over month, year over year, anything like that. And when it comes to seeing sales by source and really having an understanding of how our selling channels are rolling up to whatever gross sales number we have, we provide visuals around that. In addition to reporting, we can easily see that we're getting sales from our selling channel, our shopping carts, our marketplaces, wherever those might be. We offer a more in-depth sales dashboard where you can jump into it further and look at your sales by source, specifically to each source or selling channel that Finale is tracking. Look at your gross sales in every which way, and all the information that you see in our dashboards, for the most part, is available with our reporting, which I will also touch on in a little bit. So when we look at our sales by channel, like how does that translate to what we push over to QuickBooks? As Matt mentioned, there are tons of transactions that can take place, even for smaller businesses who are just getting started. If you're running $500 per month, you'll be surprised as to the number of transactions that can take place from an accounting standpoint when it comes to tracking your cost of goods sold. And what Finale offers as a solution to really cut down on the noise and the amount of transactions that get pushed from Finale to QuickBooks is by offering consolidated transactions. And our consolidated transactions are able to be batched. We can batch this information by source. We will be looking to batch your income adjustments and any cost of goods sold. These batches can take place by day or by week, even by month if you prefer. But by pushing over one consolidated transaction, typically per day for your sales sources, we can really cut down on the number of transactions and journal entries that exist within QuickBooks. So you can easily run reports, see your data. You have all the detail in Finale. We just push over what you need to QuickBooks to be able to manage your books efficiently and effectively. One thing that we're not afraid to show is, how do we go about that type of mapping and giving you a little bit of insight into how Finale links between our system and QuickBooks. Finale has a full-fledged chart of accounts that operates on our side, and it's simply a matter of linking what Finale is tracking to your QuickBooks account. We can pull a live list of your actual accounts from QuickBooks. Once you link up your QuickBooks to Finale, this list will populate and provide you the ability to match accounts from one to one, create as many cost of goods sold accounts as you might need, as many income accounts, anything that you require to align with what your books are in QuickBooks. We allow that flexibility on our side to make sure that any transaction that takes place in Finale gets mapped to the appropriate account for you within QuickBooks.
Okay, well, let's get into our fifth kind of way that we can help out businesses. A clear challenge that I think just about every business is facing. As economies are going up and down, as businesses are diversifying and going online, as we talked about in an omni-commerce fashion, as labor costs and all sorts of things are varying. How do we set up a great foundation for expansion? A lot of businesses struggle with this. Again, maybe you started as more of a mom and pop. I've had examples like where someone started printing T-shirts in their garage, and then one foot for their football team or whatever, local school, and then another school heard about it, and another school, and then all of a sudden now they're doing all the jerseys for the whole state, and then all of a sudden, wow, I got to expand, and I need to make sure that the limited dollars I have really will continue to grow. I don't want to have to buy a new set of tools each time my business kind of goes to that next level and expands. And so, having a clear path for expansion, that's one of the things we're super excited again about this partnership with Finale. And as I mentioned, being here 20 plus years, I remember when we didn't have these add-ons, we didn't have these APIs, we didn't have these partnerships. And so if a customer got to that next level, well, sometimes they would outgrow QuickBooks. Well, that's not the case anymore, because now, your foundation accounting, QBO, your appropriate add-on Finale for all your e-commerce, inventory, bundling, kitting, etc., data analytics, a lot of things that, again, we are just not capable of doing in the QBO accounting package, but the two together kind of, again, set you up for success. And so what we're really looking at here is, again, and it's not just about our solution, in terms of thought leadership, when you, again, spend those precious dollars, you want to make sure that what you are buying into, is almost like a platform that will continue to grow and be customizable. And as you continue to ask more, as you grow up and your needs get more complex, what you've invested in continues to give you an ROI versus you having to go off to some different solution. And so, having a clear path for expansion, super excited about that. Would love you to take us through that, Joe. I know we've been kind of talking about this, but this kind of maybe will tie a bow around everything we've been talking about.
Sure. Yeah. And we truly love to talk about how scalable Finale is. One point we always make in our demos to our potential customers, which anyone who's not using Finale who's on this call, I can guarantee if you have a demo with Finale, it'll be one that you will not forget, because it will be personalized to your needs and it will be about you. But one of the things that we love about the demo aspect is we'll meet with a business who's just getting started. They want to be ahead of the game and have a system in place. So when they do see that success that they're striving for, they don't have to be chasing their tail and figure out a formal inventory solution way after they probably should have implemented one. So because of that, we are scalable, and we love to dive into the scalable nature of Finale. Again, we have, as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, we have accounts set are, single user, they do 500 orders per month. I'll have a meeting with a customer like that, and then I'll jump into a meeting with a Fortune 500 customer with 100 users who are doing close to 100,000 orders per month. Finale is capable of scaling to that point. And as you grow your business and you're making important business decisions that are affecting you, affecting the livelihood of your family, your employees, you really don't want to have to think about your inventory management system. And to have a system like Finale in place from the beginning, where you don't have to worry about in a year, 2 years, 5 years, having to find a system that better fits your needs, because it's slowing down, it's not scalable for you, it's not answering, it's not providing answers to all of your needs that you do have. You're not going to have that with Finale. And as your business scales, Finale is equipped to scale right along with it. And I do mean this in earnest. The comfort in knowing that your inventory system can support your needs, both immediate and long term, it just can't be understated.
Yeah, that's powerful. Having a software that can scale from a few hundred transactions to 100,000 plus, you just don't find that very often in the industry. Most software companies will target a certain size business, and again, if you're too small or too large, you're either being overserved or underserved. And then, of course, with QuickBooks, the 700 plus apps, if you need a CRM, if you need a FP&A software, if you need other add-ons, again, just I'm very visual, and I think about, again, a foundation that you build upon. You got QuickBooks as your accounting foundation, Finale as your inventory and e-commerce and analytics. And then, if you need payroll, as we mentioned earlier, time tracking, or any of these other add-ons, it's really neat that this will continue to, you can kind of right size it for where you're at and down the road for where you're going.
So exciting. One of my favorite parts of working with QuickBooks and Finale together is our similar perspective in support. Our support is always available, always prompt, and highly technical on both teams. As you can see from our speakers here today, they know their stuff and they're able to customize both platforms for your unique workflows. And that's not something you find everywhere and really enables that growth. I know we do have a big stack of questions. I've been getting through some of them in real time, but there are some that we'd love to answer just live here on the chat. Also, if you ever want to reach out, you can reach out to Finale or QuickBooks support or directly to one of us on LinkedIn. So I have that contact info here. I am going to start with a question. It says, can you integrate at any time and not duplicate transactions?
So our integration with QuickBooks is based on date, meaning that you can tell Finale to push over data effective a certain date. So if you have information that's already flew into QuickBooks, it's been entered in one way or the other, you tell Finale a date and we'll essentially take it over from there.
And that's the beauty of, again, we talked about it earlier, the bidirectional data sync. There are features of our API that will eliminate duplicates. If you add a vendor in Finale and it's not in QuickBooks, or you make, whatever, an address changes or some contact information changes, the beautiful thing about bidirectional is it's not going to duplicate, that contact or that information, that transaction. So great question, and we're happy to say, no, it's not going to duplicate.
I have one that says, I'm particularly curious to know if I can streamline the approval process of an invoice in QuickBooks only so long if line items of an invoice matches exactly what was received in Finale for a given PO.
So again, I don't know if you want to take this one or want me to take it, Joe, but when a invoice or a purchase order is created, we did showcase that purchase order coming over to QuickBooks Online, and that will break it down by line item. So the line item, the description, the price paid per unit, etc. So all of your information when it transitions from Finale into QBO will be line by line. And that's one of the key differences. Again, we mentioned earlier, not all integration is created equal. Some companies will say they integrate and it's summary. So you're just getting an invoice for $10,000 and no information behind that. I love how you guys bring over the line by line, Joe, but if you want to add to that, please do.
Sure. Yeah, within Finale, we can also provide some validation, meaning that if a PO is partially received or has been received in a way where maybe the product received was not ordered, we have ways to identify that in our system. So referencing what has been received and making sure that POs are not paid until shipments align with what you're being billed for, Finale can help provide that insight to make sure that that doesn't take place.
All right. Shirley asked, approximately how long does it take to set up mapping, QB, and Finale to actually go live?
Yeah, very fair. So for full transparency, I very much encourage you folks to check out our pricing page, which is available on our website. Implementation setup, which is available on certain plan tiers, will typically take a few meetings at a minimum, and it's not so much that it takes long to enable. We just really want to make sure that we have all members who would be impacted by the integration present and understand what Finale will be controlling versus maybe what we will be ignoring. The last thing we want to do is turn on things that should not be enabled and mess up your books. That can create a whole mess. So it's really more of a precaution and also qualifying the integration to make sure it's a good fit for your needs. And Finale will be not controlling or make sure we're controlling what you expect us to. So too long didn't read. Might take 1 to 2 weeks just because of the fact that we want to make sure that everyone is well educated on the integration and knows where to go in case there's any issues.
And Joe, you would say that's 1 to 2 weeks of implementation work, or is that just a couple 1-hour calls?
Yeah, usually just a few 1-hour calls spaced out in a way just to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the integration getting enabled, just because of the sensitive nature if we're talking about financials here.
Yeah, I love the viewpoint of our customer success is our success as a company, and if your financials are wrong, we're not winning as a team here.
Yeah, and you know, again, we mentioned investing and getting the ROI and being ready and set to scale. And I really appreciate that. You know, sometimes businesses, you buy a software and they're like, okay, go figure it out. You know, hope the demo was enough for you. But taking the time to understand, okay, what is your unique business? What are your unique workflows? What, you know, we don't, you know, I tell people this with QBO all the time. I don't expect you to know the, you know, 1,000+ presets and the options and what to turn on and turn off. You know, it's my job to understand what do you need to do, and then I can guide you on what to turn on and what to turn off. And so I love that you guys do that as well, because that way you get a product that is more tailored. It's, you know, to exactly what you're doing.
Next question. For the two-way integration from Finale to QBO, are products in QBO synced as inventory or non-inventory items?
That would be non-inventory items. Which just means, in case people are unfamiliar, Finale, we are not looking to push quantities to products within QuickBooks. We're looking at things more on the general ledger level, you know, strictly the financials. Finale can provide you that insight for what your quantities are, your cost per unit. When we sync information to QuickBooks, we are dealing with non-inventory items in that regard. And in case you are a QuickBooks Online user and your products are set up as inventory, but you're still interested in the integration, there are ways to get those products either converted or deactivated to allow Finale to sync what we need to. Yeah, and Matt, I'm not sure if there's anything you can provide in terms of how easy of a transition it is from inventory to non-inventory.
Yeah, that, I mean, that's something you can work with our support and easily transition those items. And then, like I said, it's, you know, I think it's important to know that that's the way we prefer it to happen. You know, Finale is going to be your dashboard. You know, if you're wanting to go in and say, how many of this widget do I have, or you know, how many of these are ear tagged for Amazon warehouse versus some other channel. Really, you know, Finale is going to be your source of truth for that. What Intuit is, you know, what QBO is going to be really concerned with is what are the debits and credits to the inventory? What are the, you know, debits and credits to the cost of goods sold? You know, what are the purchase orders and the bills and expenses being incurred? And we're really taking everything in from a QBO perspective to, again, make sure you have accurate accounting, you know, accurate reporting, accurate information come tax time, etc. But your actual management of the individual inventory item quantities on hand, you would really look to Finale for those dashboards. Which
That's pretty standard practice. Just to I'll chime in my 2 cents. I've been around that. I come from the inventory world. Turning off, you essentially go into QuickBooks and turn off inventory tracking, because the reason you do that is because if you don't, I have seen it in real situations where you get double valuation because it's tracking both. Basically, if you have one widget and it's being tracked in both, then all of a sudden it's going to be doubled, and it will mess up your accounting, your books, like so fast. So it's standard practice. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I love about Finale is people coming over there, they have their accountant and their warehouse manager, and then they have their purchasing person, and they have all these people in QuickBooks, which is great. But a lot of people aren't like, I don't know QuickBooks very well, right? But I do know how to use the ecom like Finale. I know how to use these other platforms, and it really separates roles. And so the people that aren't supposed to be in QuickBooks aren't going to be in QuickBooks anymore, right? They're going to be doing their day-to-day within Finale. And so, yeah, that's pretty standard practice.
Nice. Thanks, Nate. I think we have time for one more question. I use Finale for all POs and just manually invoice them out in Finale. Is it possible to automate just the COGS back to QuickBooks on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis?
Yeah, so with our integration, because it's so customizable and configurable, we do have the ability to, if you only want Finale to sync over your COGS data, again, using that consolidations feature, that's what we can do. We don't have to push your POs. We don't have to push your bills. We can just handle the COGS and the inventory assets tracking for you. Part of what and that's what goes into that implementation where I mentioned the 1 to 2 week thing. These are the types of conversations that take place, and it's complex. You know, we don't want to have any guesswork involved, and we just want to make sure you're comfortable with Finale's tracking. We don't have to do that today. Maybe down the road you want Finale to handle that for you, though. It's as simple as making one adjustment to your settings, and we can start to do that.
Incredible. So big takeaway from this, there is a lot of questions that we were not able to get to today. And I would encourage you to reach out to Finale at service@finaleinventory.com. We always want to make sure your questions are answered, that you're using the product to the best of its capabilities and your workflow's needs. So please, 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 if your question was not answered, shoot us an email and we'll get back to you today. And then what's the email, Matt, that they should email for QuickBooks?
Yeah, you can send inquiries to me. It's simply matt_bright@intuit.com. Super happy to get together with Joe and, track down, the answers to your questions. And we want to make sure everyone walks away feeling good and that they got all their questions answered. So happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely love how interactive everyone was today. Just as a gift for everyone's registration and attendance or viewing on demand of the webinar, we do have a gift if you are not actively subscribed to one of our services, 20% off the first 3 months of Finale, or 30% and 30% off the first 12 months of QuickBooks Online. Please reach out if you have any trouble with those offers. We will have more information in a follow-up email. And appreciate you guys all coming here to join us today. Matt, Nate, Joe, thank you for joining us. You have been truly such experts, so much insightful information. I know that I really appreciated the learnings, and I'm sure all of our registrants did as well.
Thank you, Samantha and Joe, for having us as well, and looking forward to answering those few questions we didn't get to and continuing to help both our customers.
Definitely a pleasure.